It's so easy to catch them. When they collect deposits, they collect 1,900. So how can they earn from deposit? It is by a violation of law. So, pag kinumpara ho yung 400 ang declared mo, and why are you collecting 1,900? It's a simple mathematics. I don't know why the regulatory bodies cannot look at these issues.
A top solution or top 3 solution in order to curb or minimize. I don't think we can eliminate it, but minimize smuggling so that it will not be an economic issue that we are facing.
Majority. Can you imagine the second biggest island of our country? The revenue leak there is big and overwhelming.
Industry nobody's really familiar with. So I concur with a lot of the things that were said here. I think largely the annual increase in taxes is going to incentivize a lot of people to smuggle. I think majority of the smuggling will cease when we can find a way to actively enforce. Now, I cannot speak for the tobacco industry, but in the vape industry, for example, last year there were about, I think, close to 45, 50 importers. Today, we think there's about maybe a third of that only left. And a lot of people are leaving na. And the reason for that is nahihirapan na sila, no? So I think vape as an industry has to find its place in the scheme of things. But I don't think that we're going to be replacing tobacco soon. And I don't think, regardless of the growth that we have, at least for the next 3 to 5 years, I don't think it's going to impact tobacco revenues that much. Yun lang po.
Thank you, Mr. Chamsay. We call on Mr. Aranza of the FPI.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Allow me first to mention something about the cigarette industry, because I'm not in cigarette business, but it's so happened that the two big manufacturers are members of the Federation of Philippine Industries. May I, in one of the hearings in the Senate years back, when they want to increase the tax, I mentioned that increasing the tax too high will encourage and give appetite to all these smugglers to come. Because on the tax alone, they make money. On the tax alone. And I don't know if there is a direct relationship now when you increase and see whether the increase in smuggling is also going up. I believe that's happening. I just don't have the figure. Number two is I don't know if this why it was not taken up. But in one of the meetings of the FBI with the cigarette group, there was a colonel. I forget the name. I'm so sorry. I'm too old to remember. I forget the name, but that colonel reported that when the raided rebels come, they saw a lot of smuggled cigarettes. And to me, I can surmise that that is because it is light and high value. So it might be a source of funding by these rebels. So I think government should look into this too. And another issue that I gathered from the people from cigarette business is there was also a raid conducted at Clark, the Special Economic Zone. I don't know what happened, but there is a manufacturer. So it seems that smuggling is not only coming from outside. It is coming from within the Special Economic Zone, especially in area where you declare it as a free port, but it's a combination of a free port and you also allow local manufacturers to put up their plant there. So it is so hard for you to detect whether this is part of the 70% or 30% that they sell in the domestic market, or is it for their export. I heard that the text written on the cigarette packs are in Filipino. So how can that be for export? I don't know of any country which is Filipino speaking, except Philippines. So it must be in the Philippines. So, by the way, I will be also submitting to you, Mr. Chair, the column that I've written in time with last July 25th, when we had our first convention, a meeting, a summit of the illicit trade, anti-illicit trade summit. I'm also currently the chairman of the anti-illicit trade in the Federation of Philippine Industries. I have a column, and I mentioned that the effect of illicit trade, it has effect on economic, there is economic repercussions. Government revenue loss, lot of money. For instance, there was, I reported to the Office of the President the smuggling of palm oil, which is supposed to be for compounding for animal feeds, but it's not. It's replacing coconut, competing unfairly because they're exempted from the tax. Unfortunately, until now, the president took cognizance of it. Unfortunately, until now, nobody has been investigated. I'm talking of the Bureau of Animal Industry that issues the certificate, but earlier the certificate was being issued by the Food and Drug. So head should roll. Itong grupong ito talagang the requirement of BIR is it should be unfit for human consumption. Unfortunately, when the certification was done, it says cannot be used for human. These are two different things. Wala pa hong nakakasuhan. But BIR is looking into 7 companies. 7 companies. I had a talk with the chairman, the commissioner, and they're evaluating now the importations they have. The hearing of Chairman Saceda earlier 2 years ago, the estimate that they have taken from the flat of the government, cover of the government, is about 45 billion pesos. And I don't want these issues to become like the tire companies, Mr. Chairman. The tire companies, we had 6 before. And you should have seen how Goodyear tires, when they closed, yung mga empleyado nag-iiyakan eh. Because nobody took cognizance when I reported to the customs during the time of Morales that Gadyatungal Tires declared their tire at $5 per tire. Where can you find a car, a tire at $5? So we only have one tire company today, which is Yokohama inside Clark. What happened to our textile industry is the same. Our textile industry before had 1.5 billion spindle, and each spindle can employ 35 people on a 24-hour shift. But today we have only 100,000 spindle, eaten by all what the ukay-ukay that we call. And despite the fact there is a Republic Act 4653 that prohibits the importation of used clothing to the country because of health reason, and number 1 is dignity of the nation. That's why one time there was somebody who said that they want to legalize it. I said, how much do you put as a value for the dignity of the nation? There's no value. So I have to stop this. It is happening now to the glass industry, Mr. Chairman. A court issued an injunction. For 5 years now, there is no standard being checked for glass importation, flat glass. And so it put to risk all our people, our homeowners. And something has to be done. And I hope that the Senate can come out with a law that similar to the agricultural sector, where environmental laws can only be issued injunction by the Supreme Court. But in this particular case, glass, the standards can issue any court, any RTC can issue. So there will be as many injunction issued every time that if one, another RTC will issue. I hope this can be patterned after the one for environmental, Mr. Chairman. I really hope because in the environmental laws, only Supreme Court, may I repeat, only Supreme Court can issue injunction, no other courts. So I don't want things to happen. Also, it is happening now. We have 12 manufacturer of gas cylinder, but importations declaring it at 400 pesos per pressure tank cylinder, gas cylinder. But when they collect deposit, it's so easy to catch them. When they collect deposits, they collect 1,900. So how can they earn from deposit? It is by a violation of law. So pag kinumpara ho yung 400 ang declared mo, and why are you collecting 1,900? It's a simple mathematics. I don't know why the regulatory bodies cannot look at these issues. Anyway, I will just submit copies of my, although I send copies of my column in the Business Mirror to all the senators, all congressmen, but I will send again, Mr. Chairman. And feel free to call our group if in case you need other information, other than what happened.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Ranza. And talking about columns, newspaper columns, let me also call on one of my favorite columnists. I read his column almost every week. Mr. Oplas of the Minimal Government Thinkers.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And yes, I have an 11-slide presentation. I think I can deliver it in.
Go ahead, Mr. Oplas.
So, illicit trade, declining revenues, and the Laffer curve of Philippines tobacco taxation. So that's the invitation letter. And I want to open with a quote from Finance Secretary Ralph Jericho. He said that if you examine our tax collection, there is only one entry in all, and that is the heavy reliance on sin taxes. So much that in 1912, when we were already under American rule, alcohol and tobacco combined for almost 9 million total revenue take. In short, the vices finance the virtues of the Americans were preaching. So the demonization of alcohol, tobacco stretched back more than a decade, more than a century ago. Next. This is from my column last June. So the Laffer curve is just a concept, but I plotted the actual numbers, and the numbers are real and not hypothetical. So from 30 pesos per pack in 2017, it gave DOF 106 billion. By 2021, 50 pesos per pack, 176 billion. And from there, it went south, no? 55 pesos per pack in 2022 yielded 160 billion. 60 pesos per pack in 2023, 135 billion. So, and from, well, the data from as of June, my estimate is that for 2024, it will be about 123 billion pesos. So the Laffer curve analysis, the optimal tax rate is 50 pesos, no? There's only one optimal rate, no? It's not 30 or 50, it's only 50 pesos. Beyond 50 pesos, you get inferior revenues, no? Okay, next slide. Another from my column last October. So this is the data from total beer elections, the so-called sin products. Again, the tobacco, alcohol collection is increasing. Okay, sweetened beverage tobacco is increasing. Practically everyone in the excise tax category increasing except tobacco. Next. So these are some of the reports that I gathered. Lawmaker wants to build support to strengthen the tool law. So even Yellow Pad, no, they were some NGOs who were pushing for high tax. Now they recognize the problem of illicit revenue, illicit trade. Next. Tobacco growers, illegal vape, threatening farmers, high tobacco encourage smuggling, economists, and that is the economy from University of Asia and the Pacific. Next. This is from Philippine Star alone, March to December. BOC is 3 billion, 4 billion, 7 billion. That is for vapes alone, no? Yeah. Yan. Ayan, ang dami. Next. 13 billion, illicit vape. 6 billion, 12 billion. And you know, I did not even get data from stories from Inquirer sa Business World and Philstar lang ako loyal. Next. So who benefit from higher tobacco taxes? Yung mga kriminal, mga smuggler, mga terorista, no? So kaya sa isang interview nga sa Cebu, sa Mindanao, oy, pag bumili kayo ng smuggled tobacco, yung mga nagbumba-bumba sa inyo, yun ang binibigyan nyo ng pera. Because the government collection is zero. Ang kumikita doon yung mga terorista, mga nagbumba-bumba sa inyo. Kaya hanggat maaari, huwag na kayong bumili ng illicit. Next. So from the data, the most recent data, I revised the Laffer curve. So it turns out that it doesn't really going down. So after going up, then it goes down, and then it's some sort of a plateau, and it will resume the decline maybe in succeeding years. I made this infographics only this morning. So on the data from the Business Board, yeah, it's 131 billion for January to November, and my estimate that could be about 140 billion. So 135 billion 2023 could be 140 billion this year. So may kunting angat. Next. This is my last slide. So Laffer curve automatic is real. It is not fictional or imaginary. The higher the tax rate, the lower the tax revenue. The optimal tax rate is 50 pesos, not 55, not 60, not 45. It's 50 pesos. Next, Newton's third law of motion. No? Newton's law of motion, law number one, the law of inertia, an object in motion will remain in motion unless an external force acts on it. The second law is the law of acceleration. The third law is action and reaction. For every if you apply it in economics, for every government action, for every high taxation, there is an equal opposite distortion and tax evasion. So there is a merger between natural science and economic science. Third, high tobacco to reduce smoking is a fake and failed narrative. Recall the statement of Secretary Rector that since 1912, 29, dependence on alcohol tobacco was 29%, now is down to 8%. The major beneficiary of high tobacco taxation is not government. It's the smugglers, criminal, terrorists, their protectors in government. More illicit tobacco means more smoking, actually, not less. Third, and number 5, reliance on alcohol tobacco to fund universal health care is wrong, because because when they say that alcohol tobacco is bad, but then say we want also more money from alcohol and tobacco. So when there are more drinkers and smokers and vapors, the health establishment is jumping. This should not happen. It should not be the case. To avoid this irony, there should be zero earmarking. There should be zero going to DOH and PhilHealth. It should go entirely to retire public debt, or whatever savings, interest payment that should be allocated for DOH and PhilHealth. What to do? Well, the DOH, the DOF and the BIR will be outlined. But my last proposal is that it should go back to 50 pesos per pack. Whatever tax they can give us, so the Department of Finance should get 176 billion pesos, not 160 billion, not 135. Stick to the higher revenue, and that the optimal rate would be 50 pesos per pack. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Oplas, for your very provocative suggestions and recommendations. That's why I read your article every week, because of that, those provocative comments and especially the analysis. I really take note of the analysis, from energy to the economy to illicit trade. I really learn a lot from your article. Let me also call AER, represented by Attorney Tan Keng.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. While I am in a position seated beside everybody else, I think Mr. Oplas and I have worked in the past on access to medicines, but I think we agree to disagree on a lot of things. And I will be speaking not only in behalf of Action for Economic Reforms, but I believe this is also the position of a majority of the Syntax Coalition people or advocates of the Syntax. So the series of tobacco and e-cigarette excise tax increases from 2012 to 2020 has made the Philippines a global leader in tobacco taxation and tobacco control. Through Syntaxes, we have successfully prevented smoking initiation, encouraged smoking cessation, and raised revenues for universal health care, saving the lives of millions of Filipinos. We are also concerned, Mr. Chair, over the recent decline in tobacco tax revenues. Given that the relationship between cigarette prices and tobacco tax revenues is not a direct correlation, we can say that illicit trade may be a proximate cause of the decline in tobacco tax revenues. Given its nature, it is difficult to find a reliable and independent resource that reports the exact size of illicit trade in the country. Independent estimates ranges from 10.7% according to Lavares et al. Of 2021 to 12.79% from Austria and Villanueva of 2021 on cigarettes in the Philippines being illicit. A common trend observed in the literature is that despite the overall consumption of cigarettes continuously falling since the late 2000s, the number of illicit cigarettes being consumed appears to be rising. Contrary to industry claims and many of what has been mentioned here earlier, independent studies show that there is no evidence that tobacco tax increase caused illicit trade in the Philippines. Global evidence shows that illicit trade is more a function of poor tax administration and poor governance rather than tobacco tax rate increases. Illicit trade can be neutralized by good governance and good institutions. Further, the overall level of smuggling is generally higher in countries that have lower cigarette prices, which are generally also countries with a lower tax rate than in countries that have high prices, according to a World Bank study of 2019. And we can provide the committee with the said studies and literature, Your Honor. Mr. Chair, we are thus alarmed by the proposal to impose a moratorium on tobacco tax increases, effectively lowering taxes and lowering revenues. If illicit trade is the issue we are facing, it would be a highly illogical step to reduce tax rates. Based on legislative history, Mr. Chair, tobacco or sin taxes were primarily passed as a health measure with the objective of discouraging cigarette consumption. I believe the good Mr. Chair also had a bill way back of the optimal rate of 70 pesos for tobacco tax increase, if I am not mistaken. If illicit trade is indeed rising, then the government should address enforcement rather than reducing taxes. Reducing taxes will only go against the health objective by making tobacco and e-cigarette products even more accessible to vulnerable groups. Further, lowering tax rates will not even be enough incentive for smokers of illicit cigarettes to shift to illicit cigarettes, given the huge price differential between the two, even if taxes were lowered. Let's take, for example, Mr. Chair, a Gen Z smoker who shifted from his original brand Winston, priced at 165 a pack, because he found it too expensive. He shifted to the illicit brand Dunston, which cost 40 a pack, or almost at that. If you search in the internet, it would appear. So even if we were to remove entirely the excise tax of the licit cigarette, it would still cost 100, more than twice the price of the 40 pack of the illicit cigarette. The best policy decision, therefore, would be to stamp out the illicit brands and make the registered brands even more expensive, so that the smoker's choice becomes limited to either stop smoking or pay a higher tax. Clearly, reducing tax rates will not achieve the outcome of making legal cigarettes more competitive. Cutting a few pesos per pack will lead to us forging billions of revenues at a critical time that the economy is struggling to find fiscal space. Your Honor, Mr. Chair, we need to investigate the source of illicit trade. Is it smuggling? Is it counterfeit? In the past, we have seen registered firms engaged in illicit trade. If that remains the case, the lowering of taxes will only mean that illicit trade will continue. We acknowledge the Senate in investigating and really finding out the reasons or depth of the illicit trade, but we hope it rejects the proposal to reduce tobacco taxes. Instead, raising taxes on vape products whose young and vulnerable users are growing rapidly and are being targeted by marketing campaigns. We support legislation to prevent illicit tobacco trade focused on improving enforcement, monitoring the entire value chain of tobacco through a comprehensive track and trace system, and whole of government coordination. We will submit an official position paper, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Attorney Tan Keng. Let me now open the floor for questions, and I'll start off with the youngest person in the room, Mr. Aranza. Since you're the youngest person here in the room,
Information, Mr. Chair, I'm 82 years old
correct? No?
and a cancer survivor.
So very, very young pa. No? Let's be honest to ourselves. Smuggling is an age-old industry in the Philippines. It's been there for very, very long time. Sometimes there's boom periods for smugglers. Sometimes there's bane period for smugglers. Sometimes it's quiet, but it's always been there in many products. Like you said, whether it's textile, it's cement, it's glass. Now it's cigarette. It's been there for a very long time. So based on your experience and and being the point person for the Federation of Philippine Industry, what is the ultimate solution to stop smuggling in our country? Because it has been there for a very long time in many, and I'm talking about in general terms. Of course, you have smuggling in plastics, you have smuggling in virtually almost in rice, in agriculture. I think that's also a big problem right now. And now this is a problem with cigarettes. So what is the source of, well, first of all, let me backtrack. What is the reason for smuggling in our country? And what is, in your opinion, should be a top solution or top 3 solution in order to curb or minimize? I don't think we can eliminate it, but minimize smuggling so that it will not be an economic issue that we are facing.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First of all, you know, smuggling can be stopped, can be minimized, but we need the cooperation of the private sector and the government regulatory bodies. All importations, let's not talk about high seas smuggling. All importation passes through Bureau of Customs. In other words, Bureau of Customs is the first line of defense insofar as smuggled goods are concerned. Insofar as drugs and food, the first line of defense also is the food and drug. So we have to make a strong food and drug and discipline the Bureau of Customs so that this can be eliminated right in the doorsteps. If you observe without casting aspersion on the customs, if you observe, all importations passes through customs, and it goes to the factories, to the warehouses, and they later on raided the warehouses. Why can't they not discover it right inside customs? It doesn't take a genius to know that. Just examine the goods coming in with the standards, with the all laws pertaining to that goods, and you will know whether it is undervalued, this misclassified, misdeclared, and so stop it. In the valuation, you have the committee on valuation. You call and ask importers to submit so that you will know the right the customer or the importers who are really declaring true value as against those who are not. There is always a point of comparison. Then, if they are able to escape from the customs and from the food and drug, then the last line of defense is the Bureau of Internal Revenue. For instance, in the case of palm oil, the Bureau of Internal Revenue is looking at it. The food and the agriculture is looking at it too. How can you? It's so. It doesn't take a genius to know this. Palm oil, I met with the Secretary of Agriculture that time, the previous one. I was asked by the president to see the secretary. I said, palm oil, do you know what palm oil is? They could not answer me. I said, palm oil is a derivative of palm oil. It is fractionated, passing through 11 degrees so that all the solid will be set aside and the liquid is called olein. And olein is processed to fit for human consumption. But the order is, it can only be imported for compounding if it is unfit for human consumption. But you, as I told the Secretary and the Food and Drug and the Bureau of Animal, pag in-import mo ito, these are designed for human being consumption. Bakit nakalusot dyan? But yung certify. Until now, Mr. Chair, there is a delay. And one that discourages us to fight is, for instance, we ask Bureau of Customs because we cannot file any case against any smuggler. Only custom can file. Tama ho ba? Only custom. So, sabi namin sa custom, itong ulin, for instance, let's consider. Bakit yung pinapasok ito? Ba't yung na-certify na food and drug? At later on, ang nagsacertify na ang Bureau of Animal Industry. So makitang-kita eh. Ibig sabihin, it's too obvious that you can see it. You don't need a scientist to know. So if all regulatory bodies will cooperate and work together, mahirapan nung pumasok ang smuggler. Sabi nga ni Senator Villar in one of the hearings, sabi niya sa agriculture, kaya daw gusto niya na non-bailable because only rich people can do smuggling. Wala hong mahirap na nakaka-smuggle. Hindi makabili nga ng isang salop ng bigas, mag-smuggle pa. Pero ang punto rito, pag pera daw ang pinag-uusapan, sorry to say this, no? Walang problema sa mayaman ang pera. They can pay for their freedom. Pero pag hindi non-bailable, maski anong pera, hindi kaya. That's why we are suggesting also that it's not only agriculture, but all imported products should be non-bailable. That will only be the way to deter rich people from going into smuggling. It's their freedom. They will value that. Madali hong, marami na ho akong na-submit, Mr. Chair, na mga issues sa smuggling. Ang steel, halimbawa, delay ho, isa rin legal. Steel, Kingston Trading, pinakasuhan ho namin sa custom. Nag-operate ang custom. Hinayin na ng kaso. Court of Tax Appeal, etc., etc. You know, it took 18 years before a decision was made by the Supreme Court putting them to jail. Namatay na yung nagnakaw eh. Saka lang lumawas. These are documented, Mr. Chair. So, ang talagang solusyon dito, let us work together. Smuggling will kill our industry, will kill our economy, will kill our country. Let's work together. Palakasin natin ang first line of defenses natin, and then yung BIR, let's meet every now and then so that coordinated lahat ang gawa natin. Yun lang ho, sana. Wala hong, hindi ho natin kailangan ng scientist dito, Mr. Chair. Common sense lang at dedication. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Ranza. Let me ask Congressman Nograles, and because you represent the manufacturers, what is the source of illicit trade? What is the causes of illicit trade? Where is it coming from? What is the motivation or incentive for cigarette? I'm talking about cigarettes now. Cigarette illicit trade based on your analysis.
Mr. Chair, all data suggests that the price is the major driver. So the actual alternative to high-priced tobacco is illicit tobacco. So if illicit tobacco is present, readily available, then the tendency is to shift because of, limited income, limited disposable income. So with limited disposable income, it just makes sense that the alternative is actually not quitting. The alternative is illicit tobacco. As to the point of AER earlier that enforcement is key, yes, enforcement is key. That's absolutely the point. But it has come to a point where, like mentioned earlier, the surveys and estimates show that 51% of Mindanao is already illicit. That's already majority. Can you imagine the second biggest island of our country? The revenue leak there is big and overwhelming. There is an issue also. I agree with what Mr. D mentioned earlier, that if there is no successful prosecution, then what's there to stop the illicit traders, smugglers, manufacturers? Case in point, it was just fairly recent that the CTA dismissed one of the major busts in illicit manufacturing and trading. They did not accept the evidence. I I think that's about a big blow to the campaign against illicit, and the government is hurting. The whole, from the NTA here present, the police present, the DOH present, everyone is hurting. Taxpayers are hurting that that was dismissed instead of convictions.
Is this?
GBBEM, People of the Philippines versus GBBEM, was dismissed just a few months ago, Mr. Chair, by the CTA, and they're not accepting the evidence. Earlier, I think, I forget which resource person, Mr. Chair, mentioned the big raid in Bulacan. That big raid in Bulacan happened after the signing of the Agricultural Economic Sabotage Act, which, by the way, according to that act, which is self-executory already, if you're caught with 10 million pesos, that's already a non-bailable offense. Now, citing the Bulacan incident, the if memory serves me right, it was intellectual property, tax evasion, and human trafficking. Pero hindi po kasama yung agricultural economic sabotage. Bakit? Kasi domestically manufactured daw. Kailangan smuggled, so imported. I asked the National Tobacco Administration if the leaf comes from local sources and the machine itself is local, and no, it's not. The NTA said they don't have any records. So maybe we should assume, if there's no records in the NTA, maybe we should assume, legally assume, that it is smuggled, that the machine is smuggled in, that the leaf used in the manufacturing in Bulacan is smuggled in. And I don't think it's too late for our prosecutors to even consider that, and our investigators to consider that for the Bulacan case, which happened in November. 3.5 billion din yan, Mr. Chair. Now, if we want to really scare the smugglers, prevent selling to the youth, I agree with the AER lady over here, Attorney Tan Kiang, that we do have to increase prosecution, conviction, to say that this government and the Congress is very serious in stopping the tax leakage. So, yun po, Mr. Chair. And of course, there are recommendations from the DOF that we support. And as to the sources, Mr. Chair, to be honest, I headed the TWG on anti-illicit trade for both agriculture and tobacco back in the 18th Congress. And I'd have to say, the source will always be there so long as the market is present. So long as money will change hands, the source can be domestic, can be international. They'll take advantage of the porous borders in the south, where we still have questions on jurisdiction. Our Philippine Navy is also, if I may say, our Philippine Navy is also not entrusted with police power. So even if they see a smuggler, can they really stop? They're not empowered. With the AES law, if the council is convened by the president upon the recommendation of the Department of Agriculture Secretary, then they can start deputizing. The council can start deputizing entities to stop smuggling. There are also, you can ask it with the PNP later, there are also jurisdiction concerns. So just as an example, if there is a truck full of smuggled goods crossing Region 10 to BARM to Region 11, whose jurisdiction is that, Mr. Chair? How do we prosecute that? The PPO, CPO, the regional? May mga issues din na ganon, Mr. Chair. So the AES Council once it's convened, can start deputizing and giving these direct orders. I cannot blame the PNP, the NBI, because there's also a need for direct orders to implement such law for as far as the enforcement is concerned. Meanwhile, the industry who wishes to pay more taxes, who wishes to pay the government more, is suffering and needs the help of Congress. So we concur with the DOF's point on this one. I hope that answers, Mr. Chair.
If enforcement, I keep on hearing enforcement, no, stronger enforcement, but based on the statements of BOC and BIR combined, they have already just on 2024 alone, they've conducted 459 raids and seizures. No, that's almost one per day. So I'm trying to understand if, in fairness to them, no, they've been doing a lot of these enforcement activities just on 2024 alone. And how come we are seeing a faster uptick based on the statement of Mr. Silva on illicit trade? And that is also reflected in the Euromonitor data. And I'm quite concerned, no, by 2024, 2025, 20% of cigarettes will be coming from illicit trade. No? So that's 1 out of 5. That's quite concerning because those go under the radar. We don't know what they are. We don't know where they're coming from. At the same time, they don't pay taxes, most importantly. No? So what seems to be the problem if enforcement is being intensified, as you've seen earlier in the presentation?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. You're asking the right questions. The answer to your question is twofold. Number one, before I say it, we do commend the BIR and the BOC. You have to look at it also, they're getting overwhelmed dahil parami ng parami. Di nila kaya. Ayaw lang nila sabihin, ako na lang magsasabi. Di nila kaya na overwhelm, Mr. Chair. Parami ng parami yung kanilang mga raid dahil parami ng parami yung mga nag-engage ng illegal activities, ng illicit trade. Dahil yung illicit trade, parami ng parami dahil palaki ng palaki ang opportunity nila. Bakit palaki ng palaki ang opportunity nila? Pataas ng pataas ang buwis. Pataas na pataas ang buwis, edi palaki ng palaki ang kanilang potential. That's basic economic 101 yan, Mr. Chair. You stand to gain more, the tax evader stands to gain more as taxes increase. And if you have created this super highway of, I'll speak in the vernacular, para tayo naman, Mr. Senator, kabisado naman tayo sa bumababa sa barangay at usapang kalye. Kaya, marunong lang tayo manamit, pero kaya natin mag-usapang kalye. Ganito na lang, usapang kalye. Wala naman natatamaan dito sa illegal na sigarilyo, gobyerno lang. Benta mo, hindi naman to drugs eh. Hindi naman to bala eh. Yan usapang kalye, ang katotohanan. O, palaki ng palaki ang buwis. 45, 50, 55, 60, 65. Eh kung nakagawa ka na ng superhighway, hawak mo ng isang probinsya, hawak mo ng isang isla, di mo na kailangan magbenta. Marami akong nakitang natatawa dahil naintindihan nila ako. Oo, hawak mo na lahat yan. Kaya mo na bilhin ng buong local government. Mr. Chair, the suggested moratorium worked for Malaysia. Malaysia did 9 years. It worked. And Malaysia was overrun by 40% illicit. Mindanao is 51. Singapore, mayaman niya, malakas yung kanilang enforcement. Worked for them also, 2003 to 2021. Mas matagal pa. But Malaysia is a more interesting study because Malaysia did it for 9 years and was able to arrest not only the illicit trade, but also increase government revenue. And Mr. Chair, it's balanced. No one in this room is disagreeing that It has to be a balanced approach. Government revenue, government programs, a willing government taxpayer, a willing legitimate business asking for the illegitimate businesses to stop so that we can continue predictable controls. And that's really it, Mr. Chair. The bottom line answer is taxes will increase, as taxes increase, opportunities for illicit trade increase across any commodity. Red onions, carrots, whatever. Same goes with tobacco. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Any comments, Mr. De Best or Mr. Silva?